In the first round of the Chunin Re-Examination Arc, we have a one-on-one battle between Inojin and Houki, whose abilities will haunt your dreams forever.
Well, now that is some fucked up shit.
Powerful Nerdcast assemble! Stay dandy, baby. Greetings, my ninja paisanos. It's time to take a look at another episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations, which is finally the most exciting part of this brand new Chunin Re-Examination Arc. One-on-one battles. 2-man enter, 1-man leave. Whoever leaves becomes a Chunin, which is actually kind of a surprise. I thought this was going to be the typical bracket-style tournament where we're going to sort of weed out the weaklings before we get to the main event. No, if you end up winning your battle, you're moving on up. Before we go any further in the review, if you are new to my content and you're liking it, please consider subscribing to the channel. To all of my loyal subscribers, make sure you're hitting the bell button. It'll let you know when my videos are released. And of course, if you are just simply liking my content, go ahead, use your most powerful ninja style technique and hit the like button. You could also consider checking out my Patreon page where you can make a small monthly donation. I really would appreciate that. It really helps out this channel a lot, and I would love to add your name to this list of amazing people that you currently see on screen. They are the producers of my channel, and they are pretty fucking awesome. But this episode right here was also kind of awesome, I have to admit. It certainly was not perfect. There's one subplot that I just could not give a shit about, but overall, this is the type of episode that I've been waiting for a long time. I'm a cheap date, I love action anime, and one-on-one battles are one of my favorite things, especially in the Naruto franchise because they're always really inventive and fun, and you never quite know what's going to happen. I mean, on the outset, this is an episode that looks like it's tailor-made to bring Inojin to the next level, to make him a Chunin so that he can join Shikadai, and Chocho presumably would follow after. But Houki ends up being a really great opponent for him and having some really awesome abilities. I mean, just the fact that his sensei is Sai and that he's effectively learning to be an Anbu Black Ops lets you know that this kid is someone that you gotta look out for, despite the fact that he's had little to absolute no development in the series, and he's essentially just one of those background characters that was created exclusively for the anime of Boruto. He really made a great freaking case for why you need to look out for this guy in this episode. He had an ability at the end of the episode which made me nearly shit my pants. Of course, I also like the character of Houki because he reminds me of Kakashi. He kind of models his entire appearance after him. He seems to have a lot of great respect for him, and the most development that he gets in this episode is going over the fact that essentially he wants to prove that despite the fact that he's in the Anbu, a group of ninja which don't necessarily get a lot of recognition, but they do really important things, it's really tough for them to get noticed. And Kakashi was able to become Hokage, and apparently that's Hoki's dream as well. And he certainly proves that he's got the chops to do it in this episode, which I really wish was exclusively dedicated to the fight between these two characters. But we have a subplot, which was built up at the very end of the last episode, which kicks off about half of this episode right here, and I just don't care. It revolves around these villains who appeared in Konoha Village. Again, where's the fucking security in this place? And they sort of sneak in, and at first we didn't quite know what they were doing, but in this episode they kidnap Amato somehow in a way that I have to admit is honestly kind of embarrassing. I find it hard to believe that Amato would be captured by these fucking filler villains. Even their designs suck, I just don't care about them, and they're sort of acting as a way to increase the tension and drama of the Chunin exam because Boruto and Mitsuki decide to go after them, and because of this, if they don't make it to the tournament in time, they're going to be axed. But essentially, that's it. Boruto and Mitsuki are searching after these villains who have kidnapped Amato and thrown him into a train, and that's pretty much all you get from that storyline. To me, it's honestly kind of stupid and very irresponsible of Boruto and Mitsuki to try and be doing this themselves. They really should be contacting some Chunin or Jonin level ninja to try and take care of this, but again, that's just not the way this type of series operates. Also, it's sort of pulling at those nostalgia strings, like when Naruto barely almost made it to his Chunin exam back in the day, like father, like son. Luckily, the bulk of this episode is dedicated to Inojin versus Houki, and we get to see a lot of their abilities. With Inojin, you pretty much know what you're going to get. He's a combination of Sai and Ino, utilizing the Choju Giga style, being able to draw things out and attack just in a more colorful fashion. And unfortunately, he doesn't really do anything too cool with it in this episode, just pretty much more of the same that you would expect from that character. Houki, on the other hand, was interesting because I did not know what he was going to do at all, and apparently he is very proficient using the Earth style. He actually ends up trapping Inojin in this like massive massive maze of giant craggy rocks, which he can control and use as weaponry, but also he uses it to take advantage of the location, because apparently he has another ability, which according to Sai, is that he can recall anything that he sees. So he's repeatedly running around this place, knowing where everything is going to be, so that he can perfectly attack Inojin. And it's not too dissimilar from the Sharingan, just being able to recall things and know where they are and react to them very fast. And even his eye is sort of animated like that when it's actually being activated for the first time. But really, this isn't the best thing that Houki does in this episode. There's a scene where Inojin tries to attack him by flying up in the sky and seeing him, but he ends up just flying down and getting trapped yet again. And he tries to get Houki to attack his blind spot, knowing he can hit him with the whole mind transfer jutsu thing. And it looks like he actually captures him. But then Inojin, like an idiot, starts monologuing instead of taking over his mind, and this is what allows Houki to counter-attack with this special Anbu ability, which essentially allows them to not have their mind infiltrated and basically turn it back on them. And it takes the form of him transforming in this giant sludge mud monster type creature, which is just absolutely fucking shit-pants-shitting terrifying! And not only will it stain your pants dookie brown, but it's also a pretty useful technique, allowing Houki to actually knock down Inojin, put a kunai right to his friggin' giant forehead, and he ends up winning the match. That's right, Inojin straight up loses in this episode! So what's the rundown on this episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations? I'm excited for the rest of this arc, if only for the fact that I know that we're going to be getting a lot of really cool fights, and I was really hoping we'd see something cool from Houki. And while I really did like his ability to use Earth Style and his whole recall everything technique, I wanted a little bit more, and they ended up giving me that at the very end of that episode with that very creepy mind reverse technique. It was just animated so well and stylistically, and it just looked really friggin' scary. I just really loved that scene a lot, and you know, it's amazing that they can take these characters that mostly just existed in the background and make them kind of interesting. If anything, this is the perfect opportunity to start building on these type of characters and giving them their very own story arcs, because, well, we're like this close to the manga version of Boruto, so they're going to have to come up with some unique content in order to fill this story out. And whether it feels fillerish or not, this still was a pretty good episode in terms of the animation, the artwork, and the battle scenes. It's just the whole thing with Amato being kidnapped, which I still think there's something about this that's not quite right. It just doesn't sit well with me. I'm just not really gelling with any of that stuff. But I am excited for the next episode. Something that I predicted, although they were kind of putting this out there. Iwabe and Wasabi are going to fight. And it makes perfect sense because they're always at each other's throats, so I'm excited to see how this is going to go down. Personally, I want Wasabi to win. That's just me. I just think she's an infinitely more interesting character, especially with her unique ability to turn into like a demonic chakra cat. Either way, I'm sure it's going to be an entertaining episode, probably very similar to this one, where half of it will be devoted to the actual battle, the other half will be devoted to this ridiculous storyline with these stupid villains. Sorry, they just annoy me. I hate poorly designed villains who clearly look like they're filler characters. That's just the way it is in Naruto. You're either like really flashy and important, or you're just like the most boring, plain looking character. That's just how I feel about these guys. That being said, it did not detract about how I felt about this episode, which honestly I thought was really cool and featured some really great battle moments, if a little bit of overuse of animation. But for the most part, if they were going to give us a brand new storyline originally for the anime, this is a pretty interesting one thus far. And again, it's just always fun to see these characters fighting each other, utilizing new techniques, and most importantly, surprising us, the viewer. I liked this episode. Not perfect, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. I think very watchable for fans of the series, but of course, your thoughts may differ. You might have loved this episode more, you might have friggin' hated it. So sound off in the comment section below and let's have a big discussion all about it and what sort of other fights and surprises you're hoping to see from the Chunin Re-Examination Arc. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.